It's 7 o'clock. We'll call this council meeting of September 24th to order. Could you call the roll, please?
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Nichols, Briggs,
Yes.
First item is presentations. Mr. Schlegel.
Yes, Your Honor. Council had asked that we do some introductions of some of the new promotions and individuals at the Public Safety Department, and so we were able to gather a few of them tonight. And so I'm going to turn to Chief Rocket to do some introductions, and as we've had a number of retirees happen and promotions go forth, and so we got some new faces.
And we're very proud to announce a fine group of recent promotions. This year was kind of the best of times and the worst of times. The worst being that we had a lot of slots come open, but the best of times was the fact that we had a strong bench to draw from. So that made that part a lot easier. And the people that are replacing the ones who have left, I think will be able to help train up a new generation of public safety officers. But I will first introduce our promotions, starting with who's here. That we replaced 2 lieutenants. As you remember, 2 lieutenants retired. And so Lieutenant Stuart Thompson, representing the lieutenants, and Jason Staddy, the other lieutenant. That made way for some sergeants to be promoted, which would be Sergeant Chad McDonald. And Chad's been here since '07, so he's an 11-year guy. And Andrew Nitcher, our other sergeant, who's been here for 6 years. Then when those promotions opened up some detective promotions, and we had Detective Alma Hayes, formerly the school resource officer. So now that leaves us with an opportunity to promote a school resource officer. And then that new generation that I was talking about, we have Robert Taylor here, who is one of the last few that we've hired this year, along with Laura Baum, Carlene Wren, and Logan Fager being the very last one. And I told them that I would give them an opportunity to make any comments that they wanted to make. And start with most senior.
3 minutes.
Nobody wants to make a statement? Do you have any questions for them?
Good job.
Okay.
Good luck.
Hey, Susan.
Congratulations.
The mayor had a question earlier, so we could maybe give a little version of that right now. Is that he said, it'd be nice to know all the stuff that these folks have to carry,
Oh,
and what is all that stuff. So maybe you could have one of them give us a little demonstration about
you
it.
want to?
Yeah, just stand up, spin around, and
So if we could put on a fashion show here just a little bit.
You can't see it behind the
on
button.
the front side. Or start the music.
You have once. So, of course, we have our firearm, and we have our OPNs, which are Orchid Police Nunchucks. We have spare
Let's see it.
Is that all right?
Yeah, just don't hit anybody with them.
This is what we carry.
And by way of that, if you remember in our year-end report, we said that no one has been struck with those in forever, but mostly they're used for pain compliance, like a joint hold or something like that.
Joint locks, things like that. What else? Let's see. I have OC spray in the back.
Handcuffs.
Which is canister like this. And then
OC Bing.
Pepper spray.
Pepper
Yeah,
spray.
Pepper spray.
Remember, we're not as sharp as you.
over the resin capsicum, I think.
Okay.
And then I carry gloves in my pouch for, protective for your hands when you're going on calls, medical calls, things like that. And then, of course, our handcuffs, which is what we use to arrest people and train people.
And a ballistic vest,
Yeah.
and our old radios.
Yeah, and ready.
And what's in front? No?
Oh, here, I have a flashlight.
What's in those pockets?
The magazines.
Okay. All right. Bullets.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, it's all these things I take for granted. I don't even realize.
So what's the weight of the belt?
Not light.
It depends on what time of the day it is.
Starts
heavier as
out
the
not
day
so
goes.
heavy in the beginning.
You don't carry a taser around?
That's what I was asking. You wear suspenders with that sometimes? Oh, okay.
So was the fire.
So how much does a vest weigh? How much does one protective vest weigh? Any
And
idea?
how thick is it?
Here, take your,
The vests have evolved a lot in the last 20 years. Now you could almost bend them together and things like that. They're maybe 5 pounds, maybe. They're very light now. But they're still hot.
yeah.
But they're a lot better than what I started out with in '96. So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good job.
And I'm going to release them now.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Chief, you got Sue here also.
Oh, and I'm sorry. There's another one of our new hires, but she doesn't wear a vest. Sue Qualls is our part-time clerk.
What does she clerk?
For us in the police department, she does
Administrative assistant.
the reports, a lot of report copying and things like that, answers the window, the phone. Talk to people nice.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any other questions before we move on? If not, we have the approval of the minutes of September 10th, regular session.
Make a motion to approve?
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Shivers.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to have a motion to open a public hearing to consider the changes to sanitary sewer use charge rate.
Make a motion to open a public hearing?
Second.
Miller.
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Shivers.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
Mr. Slagle.
Okay, this evening is a public hearing for the discussion of a rate increase at the sewer. We had discussed this during the budget work session in regards to the best way to implement. And to cover the details of the proposal, we are turning to Roger Haynes.
Good evening. A notice of public hearing was advertised in the Mexico Ledger on August 9th, 2018, meeting the 30-day requirement of posting of this public hearing. This hearing is for the purposes of discussing the rate increase proposal of approximately 3% as follows. Currently, for 1,000 gallons of usage, the user charge is $1.52. That would be changing to $1.26. The capital charge portion per 1,000 gallons is currently $5.12. That would move to $5.32. And the base month rate would remain the same at $9.09. As an example, an average bill on 5,000 gallons of usage would be currently $40.79. This 3% adjustment would be proposing that for that 5,000 gallons of usage, $41.99. As a little bit of background, in 2008, the City of Mexico retained the engineering services of Horner and Schifrin out of St. Louis to complete a capital asset analysis and facility plan on the city's wastewater treatment operation. In 2009, Horner and Schifrin made a presentation to council on their findings and recommendations. The study clearly revealed that our aging infrastructure, industrial pretreatment program, and modifications to the regulatory requirements mandated by the Department of Natural Resources for fluid limitations created an immediate need to upgrade our wastewater facility. The facility plan outlined an estimated $12,461,000 in capital improvements, with an initial Phase 1 estimate of approximately $5,733,000. Following Horner and Schifrin's presentation, Municipal and Financial Services Group out of Annapolis, Maryland, reviewed with council a multi-year financial projection of wastewater rates required to cover costs associated with operations, maintenance, and upcoming capital projects of the wastewater treatment facility. In 2009, voters overwhelmingly approved through a bond election severed system revenue bonds in the amount of $16 million. During the years 2010 and 2011, the city secured bond financing for 2 improvement phases totaling $11,460,000. Those 2 phases have been completed. Now, in keeping with the updated financial projections, a scheduled sewer rate adjustment is required to provide adequate financial resources for operation, maintenance, and debt service, and continued improvements to the wastewater treatment facility and collection system. I have a short PowerPoint that kind of gives a review of where we've been and where we may be headed and what we're projecting for next year with the rate adjustment. First of all, this rate adjustment, as noted in the letter, does consider the operations, taking the following expenditures into consideration, of which first is the daily operation and maintenance of the equipment that we already have. Second is cash-funded capital outlays, plant structures, collection system, vehicles, and equipment. Third, of course, is covering the debt service obligations, which we already have at current with the 2 bond financings back in 2010 and 2011. And then finally, continue to have cash set aside for repair, renewal, and replacement reserves. For the 2018-2019 budget year, we're anticipating within the budget about $610,000 in capital improvements. The lion's share of that is being devoted to the collection system this upcoming budget year, of which we have $250,000 set aside for continued slip lining. Between years 2015 and 2018, the city has been able to make about $2.9 million of capital outlay purchases without needing to borrow additional funds. Of that $2.9 million, some of the larger projects is $800,000 in slip lining, approximately $600,000 in a generator, and then $360,000 for new blowers for the aeration system. As you can see from years moving to 2020 to 2024, we have some figures in there ranging from $385,000 to over $500,000. We're fairly certain more items will be identified when we go through this year's study with Horner and Schifrin to kind of tell us what we've accomplished thus far and what we may be needing to look for down the road. Annual debt service, of course, with those financings back in 2010 and 2011 for the improvements, we have an annual debt service, and that's roughly $780,000 a year. And that takes us well into the foreseeable future. One of those revenue bonds pays off in 2032, and the other pays off in 2040. Finally, this is a quick overview of what we have in the actual budget book for 2019. As you can see, budget expenditures on page 70 of the budget book is estimated at $3,172,694, and that does include $80,000 for project reserve for those instances when something comes up that we haven't seen in the crystal ball. We have the money available to take care of it. And then estimated revenues is $3,155,527, showing spending down or cash in the account by roughly $17,000, which is basically balanced. The next sheet that we have here, the wastewater user rate projections, gives a little history of where we have been. Back in 2013, fiscal year 13, we had a rate adjustment of 12%, 14, a rate adjustment of 10%, and we've been running in between that 2 to 3% since that time frame. We have in years down at the bottom, it's hard to read up here, but toward the bottom it says cumulative surplus. This is basically where you have, we build up cash and then we spend it down so that we can pay for capital improvements with cash rather than borrowing. We see that we're bringing that down to in that $700,000 range during 18 and 19, showing that building back up again to help take care of any other improvements that we may need without, again, having to borrow. One of the things I do want to point out here, someone looking through these numbers, on the prior page, I'm going to get rid of this. On the prior page, we're showing the cash funds going down $17,167. On this page, it shows for that same year, fiscal year 19, cash accumulating in the amount of roughly $62,000. One is, again, budget-based. This is on the Excel spreadsheet base. Your general difference there is this: we do not count in a contingency, that project reserve of $80,000. So if you subtract that $80,000 from the $61,984, you're going to get very close to that deficit of the $17,000 shown on the prior page right here. It's just a way that we cross-check our numbers and our estimates by looking at actual cash values and then by Excel spreadsheets. We also did a survey of area communities to see where their rate is in comparison to ours, and I do not know why these values aren't showing on here. It does show on your handouts, I believe. Roughly, if you look at the bars going across there, our rate is very similar to Fulton's, Hannibal's, and Marshall's. We are less than another community similar our size, Moberly. Other cities where you see that the rate is at a lesser value going across the bar at the top, most generally will be two factors. They have a greater population to which to spread the cost across, or they've elected to lower the rate on the residents and increase the rate on the non-residential. Again, I apologize, those numbers aren't showing there, but they should show in your spreadsheets. And then finally, as a wrap-up, when we did do the financings, within the documents, there's a rate covenant, and it basically states that the city is to structure their rates to where we have 110% of debt service requirements for the fiscal year. We must have revenue available to cover our annual debt service, not only the debt service, but an additional 10%. And then down here it says, in any fiscal year that net revenues are an amount less than here and before provided, the city will immediately employ a consultant to make recommendations with respect to such rates and charges. And that's what we want to make sure doesn't happen, that we have someone come in that we have to pay to tell us to raise rates when we know that we need to make a rate adjustment to take care of our daily operations, capital improvements, and debt service. I'd be glad to answer any questions that the public or council might have.
I have two. What was the original bond amounts we borrowed?
The total?
Total, yeah.
$11,460,000.
And then on user-defined rates, I see that we're going, that says it's going to be a zero for going forward for a few years.
That is on the administrative charge.
Administrative, well, yeah, administrative still goes up. But this
The
is
base rate
user-
stays.
Huh?
The base rate stays. And what we did with that was the discussion, Chris, that we had at the work session was that that way it keeps the lower end users at a lower rate, and so that it's starting to put more of the rate on the bigger users. That way, the fixed income folks can say, let's keep theirs down a little bit. That's why it's doing that.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? This is a public hearing. If there's any people from the public that'd like to make a statement, they come to the podium, state your name and address. Seeing none, for motion to close the public hearing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Shivers.
Yes.
Briggs.
Yes.
New business ordinances. Bill number 2018-59, ordinance amending Chapter 40, Article 3, Division 4, Section 4160 of the Mexico City Code relating to sanitary sewer use charge. Two readings by title only and passage. Mr. Flagel?
Your Honor, we just had the public hearing. Unless you have any other questions, we would just recommend that council proceed with two readings by title only and passage of the attached ordinance.
Let me try this. I move for first reading of bill number 2018-59 by title and pass, by title only and pass.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes. A resolution of support for the citizens of Mexico, Missouri to inform...
reading
Am I in the wrong place?
28.
2018.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Okay, Bill 2018-59, an ordinance amending Chapter 40, Article 3, Division 4, Section 40-160A of the Mexico City Code relating to the sanitary sewer use charges. Move for second. Move for second.
Second.
Who is seconding? Briggs?
Second.
Either one.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Read it again.
Okay. Bill number 218-59, an ordinance amending Chapter 40, Article 3, Division 4, Section 40-160A of the Mexico City Code relating to the sanitary sewer use charges. Move for second reading.
Passage.
If you need, move for passage. You're mixing me up over here.
Second, please.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
7, new business, item A, bill number 2018-60, a resolution of support for the citizens of Mexico, Missouri to inform themselves about Missouri Proposition D to fund Missouri transportation system. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. The Missouri Municipal League asked the city to consider these, and we did make some changes, and I'll discuss what this is and what the resolution asks. Missouri state highways, county roads, municipal streets, bridges are transportation, economic, and public safety lifelines. Missouri has over 33,000 miles of state highways, over 73,000 miles of county roads, and 23,000 miles of city streets, over 10,000 state-owned bridges, 14,000 bridges that are owned by local governments. Missouri has not raised its motor vehicle fuel tax since 1969, and since those 22 years have gone, significant erosion in its purchasing power has happened, and so the Missouri General Assembly has moved forward with placing a referendum on the November 6th ballot, therefore empowering Missouri citizens to have the final say on raising the state motor fuels tax to restore purchasing power and accelerate road and bridge projects. Proposition D will improve the safety of the state highways, local streets, bridges. What they're asking for is a 2.5 cent increase a year for 4 years, so that it would be ultimately a 10-cent tax increase on fuel per gallon. The transportation, Missouri Department of Transportation estimates that the city of Mexico, once fully implemented, will receive a little over $180,000 in new revenue because of this proposition. They certainly believe that there is advantages to business, agriculture, tourism, international commerce, and advance the quality of life in Missouri by improving the roads in their current condition. You know, if you look at the city, what has happened in the last few years, and council will remember, is that the state did cut the STP funding, and that was about $140,000 a year that the city had received to help do construction. You will also remember that Special Road District 13, we used to receive funding for them to help with road improvements. You know, just 4 years ago, that was $50,000 a year, and then they cut it to $25,000, and then the last 2 years, they've done away with it as a whole. So when asked, what is this money going to do, to some extent, it's going to replace what we've lost. And what did we do with that money that was lost? We did construction projects. And one of those very much being where we just spent the last SDP funds was on Liberty Street and doing that work. So what is this resolution really asking you to do? It's really saying that we wish that as the citizens consider this, that they inform themselves about this proposition as they make their decision come November. We're not saying vote for it, support it. We're asking them to make sure that that they educate themselves and inform themselves on what this proposition does and what it will get for the community and state.
Questions?
I have a question. So we're going to receive 181,000. Now, how are we going to receive that? Because are we going to receive that like STP funds, where we have to get approval from the state to do something, or are we going to get that to be able to do what we want to do?
It should come in exactly the same way we currently receive the current motor vehicle fuel tax, so it should come distributed in the same way. So in essence, it means it comes to the general fund for you to make the decision on.
Pleasure of the board.
I make a motion to read bill number 2018-60 by title only.
Second.
Yes.
Miller? Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Bill number 2018-60, a resolution of support for the citizens of Mexico, Missouri to inform themselves about Missouri Proposition D, to fund Missouri's transportation system. I move for passage of bill number 2018-60.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
B, bill number 2018-61, a resolution accepting the conveyance of a right-of-way and temporary construction easement for the Whole Street construction project.
Yes, Your Honor. As council is aware, the city did apply and receive Federal Highway Administration funds for the reconstruction of Holt Street, and that does include sidewalks. As a part of that design for the sidewalks, it does require additional right-of-way. And we have accepted and approached the property owners along there to help us with that right-of-way. Currently, you have approved 19 of those temporary easements and right-of-way acceptance. This accepts the 20th one. So we are getting closer. We still have 3 remaining. So, but we did receive the design waiver, so that if we do not receive the final 3, we will move forward with the project. We're just going to have some design waiver things as we have to deal with around those properties. But we're still hopeful that we'll continue to try to get those and be able to do the project straight through. So this resolution is accepting the additional easement that has been executed.
What's the problem with the 3?
The other 3, Kenzie,
2 of them were dealing with estates, one in which the estate was not probated, and so finding the heirs is part of it. The other, both of the heirs live out of state, out of town, and then the third one we've been in contact, Rita's been in contact with recently. We're hopefully going to be able to obtain that one.
So just out of curiosity, what happens to the ones we don't get?
that's where this waiver comes in. So we'll still build it. We just may have to do some adjusting around those properties.
Thank you.
Charles, pleasure.
I move for a reading and passage of bill number 2018-61. Yeah, by first reading.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Okay, bill number 2018-61, a resolution accepting the conveyance of a right-of-way and temporary construction easement for the Holt Street reconstruction project, TDOT 4400-310 project. Move for passage of bill number 2018-61.
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Item C, bill number 2018-62, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with various organizations for requested funding from the Mexico tourism tax. Mr. Slagle.
Yes, Your Honor. The Tourism Commission has met and has some recommendations for funding. To cover those recommendations, we'll turn to Roger Haynes.
The Mexico Tourism Commission met on Tuesday, August 21st, and as part of that meeting, reviewed 3 applications for funding as follows. The Mexico Tourism Commission wished to use funds for annual advertising in Missouri Life, the 2019 media kit. The amount requested is $12,465.50. The amount recommended is $12,465.50, and that advertising campaign would begin in December of 18 and run through November of 19. The Mexico Area Chamber of Commerce request funds in the amount of $1,500, and the amount recommended is $1,500. This would be for There Is No Place Like Home holiday activities, focusing a lot of activities in the downtown area. That also includes the Holiday Express, which will be here this year, which some know as the Santa Train. Performing Arts Center has both a fall and winter productions in schedule for 2018. The first one was Frankenstein, which will be from October 26th through the 31st, and then Annie, which would have November 30th through December 2nd, and then again December 7th through December 9th. They requested $4,750, and the commission recommends $4,000. I would be glad to answer any questions that the council might have.
So, I know last year we were here, we kind of talk about Missouri Life every year. I'm taking it we didn't look at anything else, right? Did they look at anything else?
Well, when we last looked at the consolidated utilities advertising, some of their one-page ads were running in the neighborhood of $6,000 to $7,000 just for one ad. When we looked at billboards, you were looking, if you're going to get in a main I-70 type location, you're looking anywhere from $650 to $1,000 per month. But again, you're just addressing those that are going up and down I-70. We didn't do any new pricing because both of those are so out of whack compared to what we're able to get through Missouri Life. Missouri Life's pricing is up 8%, but we did hold the Missouri Life pricing at $11,500 for years 2017 and 2018. We spent, actually with Missouri Life back in 2014, nearly $12,000. I think it was $11,960.
Well, I was just curious because I was going through my Missouri Life magazines and I noticed a lot of cities have dropped out of Missouri Life. For example, Hannibal does not advertise anymore. Jeff City does not advertise anymore. Branson does not advertise anymore. Now they may at certain points, but they don't do every month anymore. They're not in the issue we just got. So I didn't know, I mean, what are they doing? You know, and those places, no offense to Mexico, but I mean, those places got a lot more touristy stuff than Mexico, Missouri does, Hannibal, Branson, and Jeff City. So I was just curious, did we maybe we talk to them and see what they're doing different, why they dropped out of Missouri Life, where they're taking their money and spending it? Just
have not made the calls in particular. I did have, and it's been some seasons ago, an opportunity to visit with the director of the Missouri Tourism Commission. And it was after a presentation, I went down and I just asked. I said, what do you think of Missouri Life? And she was 100% sold. She said that was the best bang for their dollars because it hit them statewide, plus they go across state lines to hit some tourism centers. Right now, it's the best that we've been able to come across for the dollars.
I was just curious because it's about 20% of our budget, isn't it? Approximately.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's a lot of
20% of the tourism.
the whole tourism budget. Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, as for like this particular one, which we try to target the large pages during our most active times of year. This was like the June, July issues, and it's a full-page issue, and it actually presented 10 different events going on in Mexico. So if it's a month that is fairly light, then we try to make sure that we allocate the funds to the months that have more activities going on.
I'm actually one that buys that magazine and reads it and looks at, sees what's going on in the areas but I don't know. I assume the magazine does well.
We have two on the commission, which one owns and runs a motel here in town, and then one that owns a bed and breakfast. And they are both very, very pleased with Missouri Life, and they actually get some copies of Missouri Life, and they can't keep them in
Well,
stock.
they do very good articles for one thing. So,
I was just curious because that was the thing that stood out to me is there's a lot less cities. Used to be open that thing and like every other page was somebody, and I really was like, I went through like 3 or 4 times. I was like, where are these cities at? Because usually you always see something from Branson and something from Jeff City, and Springfield's not in there anymore. Hannibal. I mean, so I didn't know the pricing issue or
And I think let's take a Springfield, for example, they will typically really target their March, April, May for vacationers that are coming down there right after school about because it's more of a family type focus that they home to.
Right, and another thing, I look at some of these prices, I'm like, and we've turned requests away. I mean, not totally, but we've said we don't have enough money to fund you completely for what you want. I mean, that's happened several times, and we seem to have more and more requests coming. So people doing stuff, so it's something they maybe look at in the future, rather than tell our people here in town we can't give you money.
Based on the same philosophy, I'm going to vote for this, and I think it's a good thing, and we have a tourism commission, and I approve of whatever they bring us to the table. But just at this 3, to me, we funded an out-of-town project, and we short-funded an in-town project. That's somewhat slightly skewed to me. Although I know in Missouri Life, it may advertise things that go on at Pressure Performing Arts Arena. That may be in some of your listing of things.
This last issue advertised both of the plays.
I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just, you understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
We short-funded our local and long-funded our, but there may be some weight in there. Thank you. Anybody else?
No, I agree with you. I think it's a great thing. I just was curious to that. And one thing that does pet peeve me about them is that they do not put our events in the back either. Because one of the first things when I get my copy is I go to the back and see what's happening in the area, and we don't get put in there. Now we get our page, but for somebody that's just flipping through to see what's going on, they don't put us in there for whatever reasons. I don't know why they don't, considering we pay. That's it.
Pleasure of the board.
I move for the reading by title and passage only of Bill number 2018-62.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes. Bill number 2018-62, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute agreements with various organizations for requested funding from the city tourism tax, reading by title only and passage. Excuse me, don't mean to say that. I move.
Second.
Passage.
Miller? Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Next, D, item, bill number 2018-63, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign change order number 1 with Rad Baker Construction LLC for the Liberty Street Improvement Project. Mr. Slater.
Yes, Your Honor. This is for the final wrap-up change order for the Liberty Street project for dealing with the quantity adjustments and measurements. Drew, are you? Okay. Drew Wilford, staff engineer, is going to present this one.
Good evening, Council. On March 12th of this year, Council approved award of the Liberty Street Improvements Project to Brad Baker Construction. This project involved a resurfacing of Liberty Street between Teron-Lou Boulevard and Clark Street, and also included some various ADA improvements to the sidewalk and some driveway entrances in that project area. As Bruce mentioned, this is the final change order and only change order of the project, which brings the estimated quantities in line with the actual measured quantities at the end. The contract bid was $298,486.89, and the final project cost was $333,293.90, which is a difference of $34,807.01. In essence, an 11.66% overrun. This increase in cost is primarily due to three items. One was an overage in the asphalt tonnage. Another one was for the concrete areas of the sidewalks. And then the final was for some of the driveway approaches. We ended up taking out some additional driveway going back into the property to account for, in essence, clearances on the entrance into some business lots. For example, First State Community Bank would be one of those entrances. So the city currently has $313,411 budgeted for this project, and through savings from the Capital Improvement Sales Tax Fund for our yearly maintenance projects, and also project reserves, we're able to cover the additional $19,882.90. So this time, staff is recommending that the council proceed with reading by title only and passage of the attached resolution. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
So, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, most of this isn't us changing stuff, this is them misbidding. Is that pretty much a
No,
correct statement?
this is actually several changes on our end.
Oh.
We had a few items that were unforeseen on the project that occurred, and some overages on the estimated quantities. So when you add all of that up, you get the total price difference.
Well, the only thing you really said was the driveway thing at first. So I was like, well, that's it. Why am I paying for everything else?
No, I'm sorry if I gave you that impression, but
Okay.
there were several items that all added up to that number you see there.
All right, thank you. I move for reading of bill number 2018-63 by title only.
Second.
Miller?
Yes.
Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Bill number 2018-63, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign change order number 1 with Brad Baker Construction, LLC for the Liberty Street Improvements Project, STP-4400. I move for passage of bill number 2018-63.
Second.
Miller? Williams?
Yes.
Shivers?
Yes.
Briggs?
Yes.
Item E, bill number 2018-64, a resolution committing funding to the Transportation Alternative Program, TAP. Mr. Blake.
Yes, Your Honor, we are preparing a grant application to help fund a portion of the sidewalks to improve along Muldrow Street. To cover the application and what we're asking for, we'll turn to Kenzie Russell.
Those of you who have been on the council for a while will recall that this is a program opportunity that comes around every 2 years, and we have applied for funding to rebuild sidewalks around the square, but not been successful. And this year we regrouped, if you will, and the sidewalks on Muldrow Street are in poor condition and do not meet ADA standards, and so we are preparing an application for those. The dollars available are such that this will not cover all of the sidewalks on Muldrow. We're looking at a couple of different blocks. Would like to do from Jackson to Liberty Street, but that is dependent upon permission from the railroads. And if I can't get that permission prior to the grant application deadline, we'll need to look at skipping past the railroads and doing sidewalks that are under our right-of-way and our control. Basically, this resolution commits or says that the city is willing to fund 25% of the project. The grant would then be for 75% of the project. We're looking at our budget, of course, and looking at a project that would be in the neighborhood of $150,000 total. So the city's share of that would be in the neighborhood of $37,500. This resolution, just as I said, says that the city is willing to place funds into the project should the grant be approved. At this point, it doesn't commit us to spending any money. There would be a program agreement and that sort of thing if the grant is approved, like we have typically with MoDOT projects.
Questions?
Isn't that, that's high on MoDOT's list though, isn't it, Muldrow?
MoDOT has the reconstruction of the traffic lanes in what they call scoping, which is where they begin looking at an estimate of cost for their budgeting purposes. The right-of-way there on Muldrow is actually owned by the city, and there's an urban agreement that allows MoDOT to use that right-of-way for the traffic lanes. The curbs, the sidewalks, the storm drainage, all are the city's responsibility. Our approach here is if we get the sidewalk fixed, they can still improve the traffic lanes without having to redo that sidewalk.
Although I was saying that's a good thing. To remind them that they want to do the match it all together. It's all coming from ODOT one way or another, right? So,
And that's part of the reason for this street as well, is when you look at the streets they have funded before with these grants, it's all been along state routes. And that's why we just haven't been successful in other places. So we're trying to do an improvement that's necessary, but also one that's on their radar screen.
good idea.
Somewhat of a backdoor partnership.
I do what you gotta do.
Questions? Motions?
Make a motion to read bill number 2018-64. By title only.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
He's going to let you read it, though.
Bill number 2018-64, a resolution committing funding to the Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP. I move for passage of bill number 2018-64.
Second.
Miller, Williams, Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Next are appointments of various boards and commissions. We have 5 appointments, boards that need appointments tonight. The first 3 are appointments by the city council. The last 2 are appointments by the city manager. And we'll begin with the Enhanced Enterprise Zone Board. Frank Marth and Craig Bledsoe's terms expire in August. Mr. Bledsoe is not interested in reappointment. Mr. Marth has expressed an interest in appointment, and staff has received no other applications. And the second one in that group, 21st Century Fund, Kathy Hopkins' term expires in August. She's expressed an interest in reappointment, and there are plenty of vacancies. So none of those are contested. Can we do those together?
No, we really should do them separately. The first, the Enhanced Enterprise Zone would be to reappoint Mr. Marth for a 5-year term.
Okay.
We need a motion to do that.
I make a motion to reappoint Mr. Marth for a 5-year term to the Enhanced Enterprise Zone Board.
second, Vicki. Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Next one, Mr. Slagle, is the 21st Century Fund.
Right, and that would be for a 3-year term for Kathy Hopkins to be reappointed.
Make a motion to appoint Kathy Hopkins for a 3-year term to the 21st Century Board.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Mexico Library Board.
I move to reappoint Bob Finland to serve a 3-year term and Karen Mossman to serve an unexpired 3-year term on the Mexico Audrain Library Board.
Second.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Mr. Slagle.
Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission is still a city council appointment. You have Craig Kimball, Ralph Mika, Kyle Cohn, term expired. Mr. Kimball, Ms. Cohn has expressed interest in reappointment. Mr. Mika did not, but we did receive an application from Jim Dye expressing interest. So these, all three would be for a 3-year term.
I make a
I
motion.
move-
Oh, go ahead.
I move that we appoint Mr. Kimball, Ms. Cohn, and Mr. Dye to the Planning and Zoning Commission for a 3-year term.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Okay, and then on the Zoning Board of Adjustment, Bob Finland's term is expired. He did express interest in reappointment. This is for a 5-year term. I would ask that the council confirm my appointment of Bob Finland to a 5-year term to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Move that we appoint Bob Finland to a 5-year term to the Zoning Board of Adjustment.
Second.
Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Item B are the claims.
Make a motion to pay the bills?
I need a second. Miller,
Yes.
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.
Item 9A are council comments, and we'll begin. Mrs. Briggs.
Well, this weekend is the Walk Back in Time, and that's the big event in Mexico, and I've been talking to all the kids at school and everybody else I know, that the young teachers and everybody to come. It's a nice, fun thing to do, so that's what I have to comment on.
I would echo Walk Back in Time. Good time, lots of people, so come out and enjoy.
Good
Yeah.
food.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Walk Back in Time also. And just to say congratulations, Heart Career Center celebrated 50 years on last Wednesday. So it's nice to go out there and do their open house.
But nothing else at this time, Your Honor?
Well, I am very interested in Walk Back in Time too, and if you don't have anything to do, I'm on the garbage detail, which you're welcome to pick up garbage.
Thank you.
At this time, we'll have public comments. If you would like to make a comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and try to hold your comments in 3 minutes. Seeing none, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Miller,
Yes?
Williams,
Yes.
Shivers,
Yes.
Briggs,
Yes.